Your mother has been dead. You weep and honor her at her gravestone underneath the tree's willowing canopy. While mourning your mother's loss, your brother shouts your name. You walk over to him to see that your father has now fallen ill and is being propped up by your sibling. Your father's cough echoes in you and your brother's ears as he gingerly places him on a large wooden transport. Peace, or what was left of it, has vanished. You and your brother wheel him to the local healer. While there, you learn of a place that has something magical, something that can cure your ailing loved one. Yet this place is deep within a forest, miles away. And you kids? Well, you're basically kids. How could you possibly pull this off? But you and your brother, without any indication of a second thought, accept the challenge, rather than see the last of your ancestry die. Your only father die. Welcome to Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. So let's start with the graphics. The unique art style is a blend of different colors of the canvas, from the light grays of boulders to the powdery white snow of frigid lands. This mixes in nicely with a stylistic ensemble of characters. All of this had me wanting to see more vistas, more backdrops, more people, more of the game. However, one point I wasn't huge on, granted mostly me being cynical here, was that you could not change the graphics on PC. Kind of a bummer. Also, another point that wasn't great but not necessarily bad either, was that the graphics did look low end at times, mostly centering around the textures and so on, though overall this didn't impact the ambiance much. Mentioning terrain earlier, I want to segue into something else the game did wonderfully, and that is that variation thrived. This goes for different locales, like talked about before, along with the challenges. Then on top of that, the story, though slow throughout the middle, managed to throw some feints your way too, keeping you slightly off your toes. This all entwined into a game that largely felt invigorating, engaging, fresh. Another highlight was the characters' emotions were believable. Oh my Cthulhu, right? All too often, I've seen in games, shooters mostly for me, where a good friend of the main character dies and little to no empathy is shown. And here's an illustration of how that would normally go.
What? Jimmy died? That sucks. Okay, so tell me how I'm gonna kill every single alien that's invading from outer space again, all by myself. Newsflash, I'm hardcore Jimmy. Oh yeah, Jimmy's dead. That sucks.
When this happens, it no longer feels like you're playing a human, but a symbiote that shoots everything that moves, and things that don't. Here, this game, however, portrays the rawness that is life, the ups, the downs, the pathos that it brings. This is one of the best portrayals I've seen in an interactive medium, period. Fantastic job by the studio here. And the surprising part was that the game did all of this while using language that was largely unrecognizable to the player. Through gesticulation and other means, one can figure out what is going on rather well, but it is still mind-rattling that they pulled it off. I couldn't imagine how hard it must have been to do this, so props to them. Now, I know we've talked a lot about the aesthetics and the game's story and characters, but how does the game handle, control-wise? Well, controls are... that's where it falls short actually, at least for using a keyboard on PC. With a controller it is a bit better, for sure, but largely still has the same issues as using the aforementioned apparatus. For the keyboard, it got tough because you use two different sets of keys to control the brothers' movements. gwOz, for instance, controls the older brother, while the arrow keys controls the younger one. Needless to say, when the brothers would cross on screen, which was inevitable, it became insane trying to figure out who was who and which keys correlated with them, especially while trying to focus in on the next puzzle ahead, a ledge, etc. Luckily, I think the developers were mindful of this pitfall and kept the challenges low on the platforming, puzzles, and enemies to compensate. Though it never got to a point of complete frustration and the questioning of life, the controls were, nonetheless, getting in the way. With all of this said, and back to the story again, the ending was breathtaking. Oh, it was so good. It was nice to see the writers take a stance and stick with it. All too often, something similar will happen in other games near the end, but let's just say the ending was resilient in the face of what most people expect with their characters. Nice job on their end. In closing, though the story did fall flat during its middle and had some wonky keyboard controller action going on, the whimsical telling of two brothers trying to save their dad by braving the varied frontiers, all the while battling enemies and emotions, and facing what lies at the end, was a spellbinding tale that's hard not to get caught up in. If you get a chance, and thy wallet be ready, give this title a shot. Its outlier choices will have you looking at video games from a different perspective, one where, perhaps, it's not just a game, but something more, maybe even, dare I say it, art.